So much of the stuff that I do with dogs is like very transitional into like other areas of your life. I think the same with humans. When humans behave nastily towards me, I'm not just like bad human and like we can't go around like throat punching people and slapping them.
Here we are, Heidi.
Here we are again on Let's Boop Snoots.
Hmm. So what have you been up to?
Oh my goodness. We've been up to a variety of different things. A lot with the dogos, of course. I can't remember if I
Mm-hmm.
told our engaged audience here or not, but Gibbon got porcupined. Not sure if we spoke about that or not. I can't remember
I
if we
think we
did.
very, very briefly mentioned it.
Yeah, watch your animals
Yeah.
around the pointy guys, people, because it's an expensive bill.
Yeah. And it looks very painful.
Yes, yowzas. We can talk about some of those things. Like that might be a good idea for another episode. But today, what we were going to talk about is the development of doggies from puppies to adults and some of the myths and some of the recommendations from a variety of different people, and just sort of talking through the different phases that they go through.
Yes. So what happens? Like, what is happening with those little pups once they're born? They go through different stages, and different things happen during those stages. So once the puppies are born, they are in the neonatal stage. So from 0 to 2 weeks, they are in that stage. And their little eyes are closed and their little ears are sealed. And they only really have a sense of touch and smell. And they don't have antibodies. So they are very, very vulnerable. And also they cannot regulate their body temperature. So that's why they're always like huddled together to keep warm or huddled near mom.
Like a bunch of
And
penguins.
this is yeah, a bunch of penguins. Do they
Yeah,
huddle?
they do huddle. They all huddle together to keep
Ooh.
warm in the Arctic cold.
Ooh. Mm.
I find puppies at that stage too, they look like little skin bags. So like even if like you had like they're it's such a mean thing to say. I can remember when I had my kids, I told my friends, I said, you need to tell me if my baby's ugly because I need to know if a mother's love is truly blind. But like when we were waiting for Gibbs, I remember seeing like the newborn pups and they're like these little like skin bags wriggling
I
around.
feel like you're gonna say something else.
They
Well,
just
I
look so.
remember when I worked in Kelowna
Mhm.
in the operating room. It was like my first time doing like assisting with C-sections. And I used to tell my friends like in Kelowna, I'm like, these babies come out and they look like potatoes.
Yes.
So every time a baby would come out during a C-section, in my head I'd be like, "Congratulations, you've got yourself a potato."
Yeah, and these are like little like baby potatoes, the puppies. They're like little
Yeah.
the like mini
Oh,
potatoes.
yeah. It's funny because right when I said neonatal stage, I almost asked you, "Do you think they're actually cute at that stage?" But I didn't.
No, because you can't even recognize like what breed it is. Like really,
No,
they're like brand new.
just
I don't
different
know.
colors.
We should throw a photo up of like a brand new batch of potatoes.
Yes. Here's like a blonde potato, a brown potato, golden Yukon potato, a
Oh.
russet potato. Um, and they do mostly eat and sleep during that stage, just like newborn babies.
Yeah, like any babies.
Yes. And then they enter the transitional stage, which is from 2 to 3 weeks. So their little eyes open, their ears open. They start making a little barks and little growling noises, and they start playing with each other and crawling. It's almost like they're swimming. I
Yeah.
don't know if you've seen like little puppies or like swimming, and they start exploring their surroundings. And then they enter the socialization stage, which is a very important stage, which is from 3 to 7 weeks. So this is when the breeder should start introducing like new sights and new sounds, because later on we'll talk about a fear period, and the more sounds and sights and new like terrains and socialization that you do during the 3 to 7 weeks, the easier that fear period will be.
because like when you talk about like, so we're like, what, as you're talking about this, like, and what you see and what you can expose them to and stuff like that, that's like in a very controlled environment, right? Like we're
It
talking
is, yeah.
breeders and people who are caring for animals and stuff like that. But like again, how I always say, the our phones are listening to us. I constantly get these videos like in my feeds of like rescue pups, and they rescue like pregnant
Oh,
moms that have puppies like in a ditch somewhere. And it kind of, when you're talking about like what their socialization and what they're exposed to during this time frame affects them for the rest of their lives. I remember like with humans, there's a saying, and it says like the years before five last the rest of their lives, and it's probably
mhm.
the same for this phase with dogs as well. So
Yeah.
you see, so like I wonder how breeders go about exposing to them as much as possible. Like I was saying to Vero earlier, do they like go around honking horns around like these like tiny puppies being like bah, like not
Slamming doors.
yeah,
Well, they
slamming
probably put
doors
some
like
sounds, and I think
yeah.
they put different toys with, like, different textures,
Yeah, and I'm
like
trying to, because I still
like
have
a
my breeder.
slide and
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
wobble board where they try to, like, stand on it.
Oh yeah, and it moves around and stuff like that, so that yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
it
yeah,
helps with their coordination.
yeah. I
So I
still
think
have
that
my
sort of stuff.
I think so too. Because, like, I still have my breeder on my Facebook page, and whenever they have like a batch of puppies, like they constantly post videos, and they're like, oh, their first time outside, and their first time this, and oh, here's them like, like
Mhm.
eating kibble for the first time, and so they post videos, and I've seen one where they have like like towels and a couple of different toys and like a couple of different textures, like of ground, like you know what I mean, like fluffy
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So that's probably a good part of it.
Yeah. I wonder if they do play sounds. I mean, it's probably a good idea.
I would think so too. And even like going back to when I had Gibbs as a puppy, like again, like I was huge on the training and the socialization and exposing him to stuff, like, once he was older. But the only thing that ever like totally freaked him out, and again, you can't think of everything that's going to be like a part of your household or your lifestyle like down the
Right.
road. But my older son came home from school where he was taking music class for the first time and chose the trombone. And man, did that ever freak Gibbon out. He was like,
What
what the
is that?
he was just like, but but he wasn't scared. Like he definitely, it caught him off guard, and he did like the head tilt, but like from very far away,
Oh.
and would like definitely like jump back. He was taken aback by it, but like once he saw us like all like laughing, and like, and Ronan, who he loves so much, is like touching this thing, making the very loud honking sound. He was almost like confused, scared. It was like really cute to watch, and then
Like,
eventually
what
he
is
he
that?
yeah, he was totally fine with it. So
Oh, I remember Wiggum being outside during a thunderstorm,
oh man.
and there was
Was he
lightning and thunder, and all he did was, like, he just, like, looked up to the sky for, like, 2 seconds, and I was like, "Okay, what is his reaction going to be?" And then he just looked down and, like, kept doing whatever he was doing, and I was like, "Whew."
Phew.
Yeah, because my parents had a golden retriever. Her name was Sandy, and she knew when a storm was coming.
Oh yeah.
Like an hour or 2 before, you could see her, like, she was just pacing, and then she was trying to dig, like, in the carpet in the corner. I don't know, she's trying to, like, hide.
Yeah,
Yeah.
burrow or something like that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when that lightning struck and the thunder and Wiggum just really didn't do anything, I was very happy.
Yes. Excelente.
So socialization stage. So yeah, it lasts from 3 to 7 weeks. They become more playful, start introducing new sights and new sounds. They start teething, and they can start eating blended food. So they'll put kibbles and water into a blender, and they can start eating that. And yeah, so they can start playing with new toys and objects to develop coordination, and they start to urinate and defecate on their own so they don't need their
Yay.
mommy. Although I was watching a video of puppies playing outside and the mom was playing with them, and they were maybe about like 7 weeks old. And you can see a puppy like squatting on the asphalt
Hmm.
to urine, and the
Hmm.
mommy was like just right behind the puppy, just like licking it after, cleaning it
Oh
up.
really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you were saying before, like when they're little, that like when the moms are licking them constantly, for anybody who's seen like videos of moms with their pups, it's to stimulate the urinating and defecating, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and the moms
So
just like
around
eat it.
like 3 to 4 weeks, they don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
I would think the mom would be very happy about that.
Right?
Ooh,
I don't think they're the like I think it's a lot of like mammals do this. Like I think pigs are the
I
same
think
and
so too.
and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like a lot of them. Thank God, not
Can
humans.
you imagine?
Woohoo!
Can you imagine if we did that?
Ugh, ugh.
Ugh. Yeah.
You wouldn't have to
And
eat for
then
weeks.
oh.
Save on the grocery bill. Like, okay, this is getting gross. I'll stop.
Only have to buy for one person. And then they go the 4 to 6 weeks period, which is still in the socialization stage. So their little personalities and their temperament starts to show. They still sleep a lot. They need their mom a lot less because her milk production is becoming less and less. So they spend less and less time with her pups. They eat more solid food. So what they do, they'll put the kibbles just in water without blending them, and then they soften up and they can start eating that. And they're in the middle of their deworming, not
Deworming phase.
stage, but
Yeah.
deworming phase. So they're in the middle of their deworming phase. So they give deworming meds for the potential worms that could have been passed down from the mom's milk. And that deworming phase lasts from 2 weeks old to 8 weeks old. And when they reach about 7 weeks, they should be weaned off the mom's milk completely. So this is like an important phase because if the pups are removed from their mother during these stages, like during the during from like birth to 7 weeks, they can start developing behavioral issues like aggression, aggression towards humans, dog reactivity, strong nipping, because the mom is there to correct those issues. And those are issues that maybe if the dog is now with a human, might not be recognized and corrected. So there's still some things that need to be corrected by the mom at that point. And then from 8 to 10 weeks, they enter the human socialization stage. And this is where that fear period starts. The puppies start to be afraid of new things. So, like I said, the more things that were introduced to them during that 3 to 7 weeks, the smoother this phase is going to go. And if there's any traumatic experience during that phase, apparently, like that experience can become a lifelong problem and have an impact on the puppy's personality. When you hear like of a dog that's like aggressive, like you take them home and they grow to be this aggressive dog for no reason, maybe something happened during that fear period.
Exactly. Or even like with the weird behaviors that you get from rescues, right? Like car
Yeah.
horns may like totally set them off, or like the mailman comes and makes a loud noise when he flicks the mail into the house, and it just like scares the crap out of them. So that could be where a lot of these stem from. And like another thing I wanted to say, when you were saying like when you remove the mom away because she corrects a lot of the behavior, I'm not sure if there's a lot of like Caesar Milan fans out there, and my mom dropped off a book, and it might be something for us to like read and review like on another
Ooh.
episode. But I remember him having this move where it's like you put your all of your fingers together and you go like tss, and you get them in the back of the neck. And I wonder if
Oh,
like
yeah.
that's where he gets that move from, is like that's sort of what the
Okay.
mom does, right? Like she nips at them in the back of the neck, as in like no, that's like her communication for. And again, even when we spoke
Oh,
about leashes and stuff like that, and how I don't know if you remember me saying the leash placement on their neck
yes.
is very important for communicating with them. And I think that all stems back to just like all mammals, your childhood. Tell me about your childhood, doggy. You know, maybe we should
That's
become pet
interesting. Yeah, I
therapists.
never thought of
Yeah.
that.
Tell me about your
Yeah.
childhood, Gibbon.
Oh, lie down on the couch.
They got that down
Close
pat.
your eyes. Yeah, on their backs.
Yep.
And then what else?
Okay,
Oh
so
yeah,
yeah.
they enter the seniority classification stage. And this is where they try to figure out who the boss is, and they'll test your personality. And this is where their personality becomes fully developed.
At which, sorry, from
And
which
then they
week to
do have
which
like
week? Which weeks are
oh,
they in
sorry,
for that?
from 12
Okay.
12 to 16 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. And apparently they have a second fear period, which seems very long. And I've researched it and I found this answer in a few sites where it's like from 6 to 18 months. So, really,
Oh,
until
okay.
your dog is like a year and a half, if they have some like traumatic experience, it might become something that affects them for the rest of their lives.
I remember when I was training Gibbs and talking to a bunch of different people, and I was out socializing him a lot and stuff like that, and your training comes along very nicely. I remember people, I can't remember who, talking to me about a phase that they go through, sort of like a teenager phase where they kind of forget some of their training. So they said, don't be surprised if, like, they've been, nailing like a sit stay for like a prolonged period of time, and then all of a sudden they're not listening to you anymore. It's sort of like, and that could be what this is
The
about. It's
terrible
either
twos.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's one of two things. And maybe it could be like a fear thing, like maybe something like caught them off guard and it's like a fear thing, or maybe it's like okay, all right, we're getting to know each other and now I'm going to test your
Yes.
boundaries.
Yeah.
Not
I'm
I'm not
sure
doing what
that's
you tell
like
me. You're not my mom.
You're not my mom.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, Wiggum. When he was like a very small puppy, I was walking him and he was like attacked by this wiener dog
Oh
and
God.
like he drew blood. And I remember, yeah, I was like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
And Wiggum, like, no, he wasn't like super afraid, but he
Hmm.
had this like, I couldn't care less about
Yeah.
wiener dogs. Like, if he was walking, like he was always happy to go like greet another dog and like sniff them, and
Hmm.
he'd give them like kisses. But if it was like a wiener dog, he'd be like, ugh, almost
Yeah.
like this like disgusted look.
Ooh, one of you. You guys are
So
jerks.
that had an impact on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, like, so my mother-in-law has a mini doodle named Gracie.
Oh.
She's a lovely dog. She's doing agility training right now, but I think it got canceled due to second wave COVID stuff. But anyways, we'll see how she. But anyways, my mother-in-law walks her every day around the neighborhood, and she was attacked last week by a large
Oh
shepherdy like
no.
looking dog. Like it was like, my mother-in-law will always say to the oncoming like dog walker as well, are you okay if I let her off leash, or do you, or you know what I mean, like you sort of like test it out with people and stuff like that. So they said yeah, no problem or whatever. She let her off leash. The dog came over, and then on the turn of a dime, this dog just like grabbed her. It growled and it escalated really quickly, and then so the other luckily it dissipated as quickly as it started. But Gracie was afraid of any big dogs coming along. So like on that same walk, my mother-in-law made sure to go and greet another large dog. Like you almost want to get them right back on the horse again, because it can leave if
Right.
that's
Yeah.
the last like experience that they had. So same thing, like if not that there's going to be another wiener dog coming along right away with Wiggum or anything like that, but if you knew like somebody
Yeah.
else with one, or you saw another small dog even like approaching, I would be like, hey, we just had this like nasty experience. Would you mind if we socialized our dogs a little bit? Get him sort of back
Mhm.
on the horse
Yes.
so that he's not like, terrified. You see these big dogs like literally cower from like chihuahuas and stuff because they can be aggressive. But exposing them to that thing so that it's not a lasting effect on them, I think is like
Yes.
an important thing when dealing with anything that they're fearful of. You know what I mean? Like when the trombone came home for Gibbon, and I saw him react to that, we kind of laughed because it's funny watching. It's fun to watch your dog like develop and socialize and be exposed to all these different things, right? And but I made sure that night that like I immediately afterwards put the leash on him and held him like in a sit stay while Ronan blew the trombone. And then like over the next few nights, then again it was nothing. Ronan would go upstairs, practice his trombone, and Gibbon wouldn't even like bat an
Yeah.
eye.
He doesn't care.
Yeah. So just a little chat
So I
there on the
think,
fear part.
yeah, you're absolutely right. Like if you have a bad experience, then try to expose them to that same kind of like setting,
Hmm.
but to have a good experience so that they can see that
And
is
if
fine.
and if they're bonded with you and you've been doing the work and stuff like that, they trust you, right? So they know that
They
if you're
do. Yes.
exposing them to this like loud honking sound over and over again, it's probably okay because you haven't steered them wrong yet, right?
Yes.
But
As long as your reaction is like
yeah,
shows them that it's okay.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So I'm happy we went through all these like little puppy stages because I think it just highlights how delicate and how delicate they're like physically they are, but also emotionally. Like it can definitely impact their emotional makeup, personality if they have some negative experience during that time. And I think it just also highlights the importance of you shouldn't get a puppy from a breeder unless that puppy is at least 8 weeks old.
yeah.
Because even after 7 weeks, those like behaviors that the mom is there to correct that she recognizes that a human wouldn't is very important. And they say even like you should probably not get a puppy until they're 12 weeks. But I think most breeders, it's 8 weeks.
Yeah, any breeder that I've ever heard of is 8 weeks, and if anybody's giving you a puppy earlier than that, then that's like a
Red flag.
red flag. Red flag. It
Breeder,
definitely
red
is.
flag.
But yeah, big time red flag for a breeder. And again, if you're
Mm-hmm.
buying off of Kijiji or anything like that, it's important to keep them with their moms until they're at least 7 to 8 weeks old. And
Yes.
but
Oh, I
also,
can't wait to get my puppy.
oh, I know you're gonna be so cute.
Oh, it's so
Um,
cute. My
but
little potato.
your
My
little
little golden
potato.
Yukon.
Yes. That's
He'll be
amazing.
nice and fluffy by the
Yeah.
time I get him, though.
But oh, big time. Been nice big fluffy potatoes. But
Ooh, I should mention that. I seriously considered adopting a golden retriever
oh
over the
yeah.
last week.
Oh yes, that's
Yes.
right.
Yes, I called them.
Yes. What was his
Yes.
name? Z?
Z,
Yeah.
but he was already like in the process of being adopted. Oh my god, he is so
Which
cute.
oh, he was adorable. Like he was
Ugh,
adorable. Big
yeah.
time.
Even though like a little voice inside of me was like, "This is not the right time. You probably shouldn't do this."
Hmm.
But oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
he was pretty freaking cute. Um,
Yes.
another thing about talking about those different phases too that is important, like again, like breeder versus rescue, when you think about it, is like when you're rescuing, to know the history of where your dog comes from, and if you're getting from an organization where they're providing you with like this big long history about, this is where they were found, or this is like what happened. They came from a household where this and this and this happened. Like the more they can tell you about their background, the more it's going to help you uh, know where some of these behaviors are coming from, predict what behaviors may come from your dog as well. And again, if like whether you're rescuing or getting from a breeder and your dog develops these behaviors, it's good to be conscious of like, yes, what were they exposed to? Oh yeah, did he have that experience? Maybe I should be exposing him to that a little bit more. And it
Yes.
sort of steers where you go with your training. So when you're seeing behaviors that you don't like, um, it again, like I so much of the stuff that I do with dogs is like very transitional into like other areas of your life. I think the same with humans. When humans behave nastily towards me, I'm not just like bad human and like we can't go around like throat punching people and slapping them. But I always think of like why are they behaving this way? Always like take a
Yeah.
moment and think like, okay, why is my dog behaving this way? Could it be this? Could it be that? Maybe I should try this and maybe I should try that. It changes it, like it's this back and forth between the two of you because you got to live with this pooch, and
Mhm.
you got to make it as good as possible. And
Yes.
the one last thing that I will say is that you talked about this sort of like their childhood and adolescence, and there's this big myth out there. And Vero and I were talking about this before about how when a dog turns 2, they're like an adult, and that resolves all of your issues, and they're so much better when they turn 2, and like it's gonna like fix everything for you. And although they do become adults at that point and the hormones are not developing as much and they do start to calm down, their behaviors definitely do change. And all the dogs that I've had too was definitely like, yeah, when they started to mature a bit more. um, but if you don't have a good base of training and a good connection with them, it's not going to resolve all your issues. So total myth of like when a dog turns 2 they become the perfect dog. I would like to
Yeah,
just throw
no.
that out
If you
there.
don't do the training and the hard work from the start,
2 is not your magic
ain't gonna
number.
go away.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's
It
still
just
gonna
becomes
last.
like more and more ingrained, probably, and harder to correct that behavior
Well,
the
exactly.
longer
The
the
longer you
longer
leave it
that.
unaddressed. Yeah,
Yeah. Hmm.
for sure.
And I
Like yeah,
just wanted,
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
so it's kind of like a side note about the Golden Retriever Rescue Association.
Yeah,
I
talk
did
about
call,
that.
yeah, I did call them, and so this dog named Z was already getting adopted. But they did say that on their website, they don't put a profile up for every dog that is available. So if you are looking at rescuing a golden retriever and you're looking at the Golden Rescue website, they have more dogs than they actually advertise. So the
Oh,
lady
okay.
said the best thing to do is to just fill out an application
Okay.
because they might have one available.
Yeah. Did you
But
did
is
you
yeah,
did you look at their application process? Was it more
I
of the
did
detailed
not.
ones? Okay.
I did not.
But what
But
were
I'm
Z's
assuming it
issues
probably.
again?
He had behavioral like aggression issues with other dogs,
Mhm.
and he had guarding. But they were
Mhm.
apparently working on the drop it command, which was apparently helping, and he was getting better with the aggression behavior. So I kind of wanted to ask them more questions about it, like what level of aggression is it? Because in his profile it said that he should probably like for now not live with another dog in the house,
Mhm.
a dog or a cat. So I was kind of wondering like what level of aggression does he have or they think he has. But
Yeah.
yeah, he's getting
Yeah.
adopted, which is good.
That is
Yay,
good.
Z!
Good for Z.
Woohoo!
Good for Z. So again, talking about puppies and developing puppies. One thing that
Puppies.
Vero and I talked about really quickly, and I still feel like I have to do a bit more research, so maybe it's something we can post in our fluff stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
we were talking about when to neuter or spay your dog.
Lots of
And
controversy on that.
there is lots of controversy because I think like just from everything that I've read so far, and again I didn't talk to my vet, and I can't 100% remember what my breeder suggested, but I think that when you go into it you need to know more specifically about how it relates to your breed and size like of dog and what you plan to do with your dog. Because some people like when you Google search it, it says that they will what was the amount of weeks again? Sorry, that they will neuter some of them as early as
5 weeks.
five
That is
weeks.
early.
Yep. Whereas, but then when I looked up, like, when to neuter your large breed dog or whatever, it says it recommends for them between 9 and 15 months. So usually like around a year. So I think the things to take into consideration is the hormone development. And I remember somebody saying to me that you want them to fully go through their hormone development period, especially if it's like a larger dog, like my dog, Gibbon Zivai Marana, has is prone to hip dysplasia and that sort of thing. So you want the hormones to develop their muscle around their hip bones, making it a bit stronger so that it makes them less likely to develop hip dysplasia. And I'm sure there's a variety of other benefits to that, to more breed specific diseases like later on in their lives. So I would be knowledgeable about what type of breed you have, even if it's like a mix, like rescue or whatever, what two mixes they have. I would like look up what those are and what some of the risky things are later on in life. I would ask your vet depending on who they are, and ask a couple of different organizations in your area what they recommend, because I know that the big thing with humane societies and with veterinarians is they want to control the animal population, right? Like there's tons of strays, there's tons of dogs, there's all these
Yes.
animals out there with no homes, and like all these rescue videos that I watch every day on my feed. I can't help it. It's just so rewarding. They're
I
just so
know.
sad when they're like out in a field somewhere, and then like they take them home and they go to their forever home, and then you see like they show the before and after, the one where they're like terrified and like diseased
I
and
know, and
like
then they're so
horribly
happy
skinny, and then
after.
they're like, yeah, so full, and all of their fur grows back, and they're like, oh, they're so beautiful, and it just like brings a tear to your eye. You're just like, yes, puppy, yes, you got your forever home. But anyways, so yes, there's, so there's that fine line between letting your animal develop fully to con- contraindicate the diseases they might be exposed to due to their breed and such things, versus the whole animal control thing. So if like you're not going to fix your dog until they're like 2 years of age or whatever, then you really got to be careful when you take them to parks and stuff like that, because you don't want them making babies.
Nope.
Nope.
So you
Mm,
kind of think about like humans. Can you imagine like a human baby at the age of like, let's say 5 years old would get their like testicles removed or their like ovaries and uterus, like how that would affect their growth
yeah,
and their development.
yeah, strange.
So, yeah. And if they're neutered and spayed too early, it reduces like the sex hormones that is required for normal bone growth. So
Yeah.
apparently, when fixed too early, the growth plates close later, which allows the bones to grow longer. So you'll get like a dog that's not proportion, longer legs, just longer bones. And then those dogs are prone to like orthopedic disorders like hip dysplasia. Like you'll hear like probably especially golden retrievers and Labrador retrievers. That's something that often affects them.
And again, like you said earlier, Vero, is just thinking about what you're going to do with your dog. So if you're going to have like a working dog that's like pulling stuff or carrying stuff like a rescue, or you're going to have a dog that's competing like in agility and it's doing a lot of the jumping and running, or you're going to have a security dog that's scaling fences, you want that bone growth there and that bone development, because you don't want to be running to the vet every time, right? Like it could make them more prone to breaks, or who knows, like arthritis. I remember poor Scrappy had the arthritis in his final years there. It was like so sad to
Oh,
watch. Every time he went to stand up, it was like a
oh,
we'd be like, come on, Scrappy, you can do it.
you can do it, Scrappy.
You can do it. And he would be like, ah, and he would stand up and like
Go get him,
give it a couple
Officer
of seconds.
Scraps.
Yeah, so one website here, it said like, so for dogs, while the traditional age for neutering is 6 to 9 months, puppies as young as 8 weeks can be neutered as long as they're healthy. And it's like
No,
that seems to
I
be
don't
like
believe
that's
in that.
no, and that's from like an SPCA place, right? Where their like goals and missions are to
Yeah.
control like animal population,
Yeah. Oh, for
you
sure. I
know?
mean, there is an overpopulation, and like one of the like only solutions right now is to spay or neuter those dogs, like in
Yeah.
animal shelters. I watched a YouTube video with Dr. Becker.
Hmm.
Anyone who's listened to previous episodes, Dr. Becker was featured on the Pet Fooled documentary that we spoke about. I think it was
Hmm.
maybe episode 4. I don't know. I can't remember. Anyways, she was talking about her experience. So she said that she worked at an animal shelter when she was 13 years old, where they spayed and neutered dogs, but then also where they like had to euthanize dogs, and then they'd receive dogs from like unwanted dogs from families or just dogs that they would find on the street. And then she started her practice as a vet, and because of that experience that she had when she was younger, she recommended to pet owners to spay and neuter their dogs and cats at an early age because of this like ethical dilemma that she had. Um, and she said it took about 5 years, and then she starts seeing a lot of pets coming in with like endocrine issues. So like endocrine issues is like those the glands in your body that secrete hormones. So a lot of like hypothyroidism and Cushing's disease, which is adrenal glands. Um, and that just really like she almost like starts crying during the YouTube videos because she's like, my decisions as a doctor made those pets sick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So now she's like totally against spaying and neutering unless it's like animal shelters and like they're trying to control the population. But she's like, if you are a responsible pet owner, then she goes on and on about like there's no reason why you would have to spay or neuter your dog.
But don't the females like go into heat? Like, how long does that happen for? Because like you see these like doggy diapers. I remember I had a friend whose mom used to breed Basenjis, and I remember going to her house and like the
Mhm.
females like wearing diapers and stuff. I was like, why are your dogs wearing diapers? And it's because
So
like you don't want that mess all
yeah.
over your house, right?
So
Nasty.
they go into heat only once or twice a year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And
Okay.
she said, like, Dr. Becker was talking about it, and I read about
Mm-hmm.
it online too, where it's like they keep themselves like pretty clean, like there's not much of a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And it lasts about, I think, 2 weeks.
Oh
But
my
there's
God.
really, yeah, she said there's only, well, I mean, she's like, they're not like bleeding all the time. It's only
Yeah.
like here
Yeah.
and there. But she said there's only about like 3, 4 days where they can actually get pregnant.
Oh, okay.
But she's like, do not let your dog outside
To know.
loose, even in a fenced yard,
See, and again, like when
because all of those male doggos will be at the fence trying to get in.
my milkshake brings all the dogs to
It's
the
all-
yard. um Yeah, I find it's like, and I get that. Like, is that statement true? Yes. When can you apply it to people living in a city? Like not everybody are as passionate as she is about what she does, right? Like if I was like a veterinarian, I'm
Correct.
sure I would be handling my animals like much different. Just like when you like learn about anything and you're passionate about anything, you know all there is to know, and you're very responsible around whatever area you may be. My husband is a teacher. He's a great teacher. He's very passionate about teaching. He knows everything about teaching and does an excellent job teaching his kids. It's like anyone, but if I'm wanting to teach my kids something, I'm not going to be implementing all of like I don't have that knowledge base like the same as his, right? And at the same time, like I'm
Yeah.
not gonna, depending on what I'm teaching to who, I'm not gonna invest that much time getting to know all there is about it. It's just like anything in our lives. So is that, like I said, is that statement true? For sure. If you're a responsible pet owner, there's no need to fix them. But
Yeah.
when you're talking about the general public, as we've seen with COVID, you're going to get and anyone from somebody who's super not knowledgeable to somebody who is an expert, and the way that they practice and go about their day-to-day life is going to be different. And it's the same with
Hmm.
pet ownership. So you can't expect people to like not spay their animals and take care of them, because I went to a dog park
Correct.
twice this weekend where everybody, like, that's all anybody has to do during COVID, right? So there was like a ton of dogs there, a lot of them running loose, a lot of them running away from where their owners can't see them. And if all of them were not spayed or neutered, there goes the animal population like thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
and Yes, and so on and so forth. So, like, if you live in a big, beautiful house like she does out in the country where your dogs are not exposed to like
Yes.
anyone else except for the dogs that you have, then 100% like don't spay your dog and like go for it. But when you live in this
Yeah.
city where most people do in condos and stuff, and they're going to these fenced in dog parks where they're exposed to, like, I can remember when my dad used to
Yeah.
take
Or
them
doggy
walking,
daycare.
doggy daycare. You want like they have to be to even go into some of those places, right? Like they need the rabies and they need to be neutered or spayed. So,
She was talking about one of her dogs that she rescued. It was a male dog, um, not neutered. And she said he was like marking his territory at every corner of every piece of furniture in the house.
mhm.
Yeah. And humping,
Yeah.
humping everything.
There, do you want to know what? Like when I was looking up like the whole spay and neuter thing, there was like one thing that talked about like mounting and like and humping and stuff like that. And that's another huge reason for people. Like I can remember before we got scraps like fixed, it was with very specific people that came to my house, he would hump their legs and I was like, "No!"
Does Becky hump?
Nope.
No.
Nope. But no,
My
I've never seen Becky hump, but we and I almost like I was going to bring it up for this episode and I don't know whether we should post it or not because it is quite like graphic, but we were dog sitting. We were dog sitting for one of my husband's friends at work and they had this chocolate lab named Scamp. And they
What
brought
was the
him
name?
Scamp. His name was Scamp, and boy, was he ever a
Okay.
scamp. So they brought him over with his
Oh,
bed.
I remember that dog.
Yes,
I
you
remember you
remember that dog.
talking.
And
Yes.
so we're like Matt's friend, my husband's friend, who we were dog sitting for, never made any mention of it at all. So he drops off Scamp with his food and his leash and his like dog bed or whatever. And like within a couple of hours, Scamp takes his bed, he folds it in half, and just goes to town humping this thing. And this was like a pastime of his that like we had no idea. And Becky like hated it. So I have a video where he's like literally like giving it all he's got to the bed. And Becky is sitting there with this like total like biatch look on her face. Like she's like, make him stop, make him stop. And then she finally loses it and she's like, she like snaps at him. Like she didn't bite him or anything like that, but she like gave this like super snarly like bark growl at him. And then he stopped and she was just like, oh, finally. I have a video of
Sounds like
this.
Scamp needs some therapy.
Yes, I think so. So that like, just like any dog has their personalities and stuff like that. That was just like one of like Scamp's little quirks. And yeah, my kids just thought it was next level hilarious. Whereas I was like, oh my God.
Disgusting Scamp. Come on.
Yeah, Becky was not a fan. She was not a fan of Scamp's little hobby there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe what I'll do is I'll take like a screenshot of the look on her face while while Scamp is,
Yes.
and maybe we can post that because, like I said, it's a
Yes.
little graphic. We don't want to have to put up disclaimers like on our website and podcast.
Oh,
Oh man, that's good. That's good stuff. All right.
so coming back to spay and
Mm-hmm.
neuter, my personal opinion is that there's no reason for anybody to get their dog fixed when they're 8 weeks old.
Yeah.
Like, there's really no reason, even 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So I know with Wiggum, I think I waited until he was almost a year.
Yeah. Same with Gibbs.
Yeah. And I'm going to do the same with my next one. Like, Wiggum never had any uh growth issues or like bone disorder or orthopedic disorders, maybe
Yep.
hoping even longer than a year. So we'll see. We will see. But I
Yep.
think if you can stick it out for as long as possible, um, at least a year, then
Yeah. And
I think that's
I
pretty
think for
good.
females, I think they say to wait until they've had their first um
Yes.
in heat period. And again, like that's like a good
Yeah.
marker for that their hormones are like up and running and have been doing a little bit of work, and that might be
Correct.
a good sign to go fix your dog, because I can remember having that discussion like, when do you fix dogs? And like everybody had a different answer, but what made sense to me is like, yes, around like a year. Let them develop, let the hormones kick in, do their job. Let them develop their muscles and like all the important things that have to happen in their body. But again, that was with like a larger breed dog, and maybe it's different for someone that's a bit smaller in what you're going to be doing with your dog. But look into it, get people's opinions, pull it all together at
Do
the
your
end of the day,
research.
and like and make a
Yep.
decision. Make a decision.
Lots of decisions.
Lots
Decisions.
lots of decisions when in dog ownership.
Yes.
All right. Is that all for
All right.
today?
I think, yes.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week on Let's Boop
On
Snoots.
Let's Boop Snoots.
Toodaloo.
Bye bye. Toodaloo.